Hello, everybody. We are so excited to have you guys. I am Marley Dias, and today I'm with my parents, my mom Janice, and my dad Scott. But I just call them mom and dad. And today we're really focused on helping you all become social problem solvers, or hopefully support kids that want to become social problem solvers in their lives, in their opportunities, and what they want to do. Mom.
Hi, I am Janice. I am Marley's mom, and I will be talking to you about the kind of first steps in this journey of helping to build this social problem solver. And you should know that we are here, and anything that you want to know, we're happy to offer to you and to guide you along this road.
And I am Scott. I am Marley's dad. I'm not like a professional or anything, but we do have a little experience on raising a child and helping her change the world. So we just want to meet with you guys and maybe share some of our experiences and maybe talk about some things that you can do.
So before we do our formal introductions, we want to know who you all are. It is so exciting to kind of see real people and to see little kids and to see people that hopefully will become future change makers and change makers today. So feel free to use the raise your hand feature in the participants box. And we want to know your age, where you're from, and what you guys are passionate about. And I would really appreciate it if you all went. I know people can be shy and timid, but we will go to and we'll talk about ourselves. So we want you all to do the same. Okay, so the Johnsons, do you guys want to go?
Okay. Turn your video on. Because okay. I am Josephine Jules and Sora is over here.
Hi guys.
And Papa or Nate.
How old are you? How old you are and what you're passionate about?
I'm 9. Climate change, global warming, stuff.
Yeah, sounds like my dad. That's his stuff.
That's important stuff. Yes.
And what about you?
Coronavirus. How old are you? She's 6.
That's an important issue. So it's so nice to meet you guys. That's so awesome. Oh, we have one more too.
I'm Sora. I'm 9 years old, and I would like to change factory pollution.
Oh, you guys are so cool already.
What about Nate?
And Nate, do you have anything that you'd like to say? You guys are on mute. We can't hear you.
Are we supposed to say something else?
Oh no, if your dad wanted to say anything or Nate.
No, I'll let the next generation lead here.
That's great. Thank you guys so much. You did a great job. Anybody else want to go? If you click on the participants box at the very bottom, you can raise your hand, which is a great feature for me to know if you want to talk, if you're interested in speaking and introducing yourself.
So you're gonna have to do what teachers do. Pick up.
I don't want to pick on people. Okay, John and Claire, feel free to go. Thank you so much for raising your hand.
Oh, are you shy? I am John. This is
Claire.
And Claire, how old are you?
I'm 5.
You're 5. And what are you passionate about? Say it. We talked about learning in ballet and movies.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. That is so great.
And I just to say I'm passionate about learning about you and how to empower her to be like you and be able to change the world.
Oh, thank you so much. We appreciate that. My mom is going to be so emotional after this. You guys don't even know. She loves Dad too. Okay, so the Brett and Logan Fontroy.
I'm Britt. And I'm Logan.
And I'm Mom, Lisa.
Hi, nice to meet you all.
Conveniently forgotten for a second. I apologize that we came in a little late and missed your first question for introductions.
Oh, it's completely fine. We just wanted people to say their age, what they're passionate about, and of course their
Where they're
name.
from too?
And you could say where you're from if you would like to.
Okay, great. You guys know that?
From Washington D.C. and
Your age.
we're twins. We're 13 years old, and I play basketball.
And I like soccer.
Oh, cool. Thank you guys so much. It's nice to
And I'm
nice to see
Very
you.
proud of you, Marley, and your parents. Thank you so much for your spirit, your energy, and all that you're contributing to everyone.
Oh, I appreciate it. Oh my gosh. You guys do not even know. They're so emotional. They're gonna love talking about this. So Nicole raised her hand as well. Would you like to go? Introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Nicole, or Mom, and
I'm Kellen.
And how old are you?
I'm 11, and I would like to.
What are you passionate about?
People having equal access to resources.
That is great. Oh my gosh. You guys are speaking our language. This is amazing.
Like the social worker's son. So I was like, oh, what are you passionate about? So that was one of the first things that came to his mind. And I would like to echo, like, I think this is awesome. You know, you all are going to be spearheading, you know, the change going forward. So loving that, you know, you're getting this conversation, getting our kids thinking about discussions like this. So thank you.
No, we appreciate it. This is so much fun.
Where are you coming from?
And where are you guys from, or where are you?
We are in Houston, Texas.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. We've been there a couple times. Anybody else want to introduce themselves? We have so much time for all of you, so I want to know as much as I can about all of you before we begin.
Oh, hey, I'm Walter. Can I say something or ask?
Of course, yeah.
I'm really curious about how first, you have an awesome family. Like, you three are so incredible. And just seeing the three of you just is a joy. How do we also undergo change within ourselves? How do we prepare ourselves to be more open-minded and to be kinder to each other?
We are getting, that's a great question. And I want you to hold on to that because we're going to get into it as soon as after we introduce ourselves. That's literally one of our first points. Yep. So don't worry about it and we will answer that. So thank you for the question. And I will keep that in the back of my head when I talk about my first topic. So thank you for that. And you didn't introduce yourself. You didn't say where you're calling from, your age, and what you're passionate about.
I'm from Los Angeles, California. My age is 120.
Okay, that's good age. That's how I feel right now.
It was a big birthday for me.
Thank you so much. I saw that Leah and Amy raised their hands. Leah and Amy, do you guys want to tell us about yourselves?
My name is Amy. This is Leah.
Hi.
I'm 9. She's 11. And I'm passionate about helping endangered species.
Oh, that is so cool.
I'm passionate about getting people to vote because I think that's very big right now. So I want people to vote, and yeah, because we can't.
That's great. That's such a good way to think about it, that people need to vote. And I've been trying my best. I'm 15, so I can't vote either, to encourage people to. And my dad used to work at the Bronx Zoo and he got to see a lot of endangered species. So he cares a lot about that. And I saw that Naomi and Natalie raised their hand. Do you guys want to say hi before we begin?
Hi, I'm Naomi. I'm 13.
And I'm Natalie. I'm 15.
And we're located in LA. I'm very passionate about equal rights for everyone.
And I'm passionate about people not wasting what they're given because everything is kind of limited and other people may not have the same access to resources as other people.
Thank you. That's so great. You guys are amazing. And we have our dog in the room because we don't have anyone to watch him while we're doing this. This is Philly. He's the drama queen. So if you see him pop up and try to get people's attention, he wants to leave. So he's trying to get us to take him out of the room, but he's staying put. So I'll begin to introduce ourselves. So I'm Marley. I'm 15 years old. We are calling in from West Orange, New Jersey. We are from the East Coast. And I'm passionate about diversity, inclusion, and equal access for kids when it comes to resources and opportunities.
Hi, I'm Janice Johnson Dias. I am a professor of sociology. and a graduate faculty in the Department of Criminal Justice at the City University of New York. And I'm also the president and the founder of a nonprofit that focuses on public health and social justice.
And I'm Scott Dyers. I am a retail geographer for a large supermarket chain. So what that means is basically if the supermarket is looking to build into a new town or expand, I go out and find them the best locations. And I also focus on areas, and particularly in the inner city, that don't have a lot of supermarkets or people don't have access to food. So we hear about food deserts. I work on kind of like solving those problems in inner cities on the East Coast.
He's also a spy because he has to go to competing grocery stores and he looks at what they're doing. That's what he has to do. I don't know.
He's a fisherman.
He loves to fish.
I do like to fish. Yeah,
I didn't give myself the proper introduction because they're saying all their fancy things. I am the founder and creator of the 1000 Black Girl Books campaign, an initiative I started when I was 10 years old to collect and donate books where girls like me, Black girls, are the main characters. And I've been doing this for about 5 years, but it's really been my whole life. And I hope that for all of you, we can start to make sure that you think about the fact that you've been helping people in small ways and hopefully can grow to change larger and larger groups as you get older and as time passes. So the first thing we really wanted to start with was kind of like how this all came to be and kind of more about the type of person I am, the way I've been raised, and the things that I think my parents have really taught me to care about. So Mom, do you want to kick it off with some of the beginning things?
So as all of you caregivers in the room, is that, you know, raising a child is complicated, I think, in many ways. And we all bring to bear the skills and the talents that we have. And for me, my primary skill was really reading and writing. And so I really wanted to emphasize that for my daughter. But I'm also a bit of a person who really enjoys structure. And so with Marley's life, it was really important to me that her life was structured and that it was organized in ways that made her feel safe and secure. So we focus a lot in her early years on sleep time, which you will see becomes really important for a social problem solver. Sleep time and a proper eating. Those were my early consistent kind of things. And her dad, even though I loved reading, her dad was really a champion for reading in the house.
Yeah, I mean, I think my reading is, here's the interesting thing about Marley, is as much as she's into books and book reading, I was not a big book reader. But I used to read a lot of news. I used to read newspapers cover to cover and magazines, periodicals, and random stuff. I would read like science magazines and instruction manuals for things I didn't even own. So I would read about how a boat engine works, or how a motorcycle engine works and stuff like that. But we always stress reading to Marley, and when she read the children's books, I think my contribution to her liking reading was I would try to make the books as fun as possible. So I would try to act out the parts of the book. If anytime I know somebody I don't know if it was who was the animal.
It was Amy that liked animals.
That liked animals. Okay, so I would always read the animal books because I would think that I used to make really good animal sound effects.
And we are not going to demonstrate.
Oh, no, we should get an elephant out of here.
Mom.
I used to have a really good elephant. I don't know if I still have it. Should I try it?
Yeah, go
okay.
Oh.
So the elephant used to go like this.
That's just so embarrassing.
Okay.
But
so when I did that, Marley.
When I was a kid, I used to love it.
Yes.
I still love it. But one of the things that we did was because I was born and raised in Jamaica, and I still struggle with how Americans try to have fun. And the bookstore became the place where we had the most fun. So we had a rule in the bookstore. When she was 1, we could read, we would stay there for hours. She could get 1 book to take home. And then it was Borders book. And so it had to have 1 as the first price. So it was like $1.99. When she was 2, she could take 2. When she was 3, she could take 3. When she was 4, she could take 4. And so we continued this practice. So the bookstore was every Thursday. Like I said, I like schedules, I like routine, but the bookstore became our place where we would hang out after school for 2 hours and she knew she was leaving with a book. She would have a soy milk warmed up and a brownie and books every single Thursday. And when she had play dates, we had them at the bookstore. So the love of reading both at home, but also seeing books as a thing that was fun was really like critically important. And that has always been the case, but it was particularly important when she was like 5 and over.
So the reason why we brought that up is really not just necessarily about the importance of reading, which we will get into later, but also the fact that we want for all caregivers to know, and especially for the teenagers that are a little bit older and have more control over their interests and when they get to go places and do things, is to invest in the things that you care about. Surround yourself with things that you love and that bring you joy. And I've always liked to read, not only because my parents stressed the importance of it, because I felt like it was a place, an opportunity for me to be myself. So I think for all of you, you have that thing in your life that you think is super fun and interesting, whether it's playing with dolls or it's playing soccer or it's painting and drawing. Use those things and encourage as parents to surround your kids with things that help them feel free and creative and joyful. And I think through this kind of like development of me loving reading and being passionate about this, I really started to want to take it to the next level. And I think one thing that really helped me define in that work and figuring out that maybe the thing that I like can actually be used to help other people was through a program my mom runs called Super Camp. So Mom, do you want to talk a little bit about Super Camp?
So Super Camp it started with being pressured by parents because summer was coming. And a set of parents were like, well, what are you doing with your daughter over the summer? And our daughters were 5. And I was often, because I am a teacher, I was often home in the afternoon. And they wanted to know what I was doing. And I said, well, we're just going to hang out. We're going to travel. We're going to do some stuff. But Super Camp then became a place where I had 5 5-year-olds. And I would just teach them things that I knew. And we started with simple things like taking a photograph and then printing out the photograph and talking about the photographs. We went to the local library, we went to museums, and we did all of those things. But as it grew, it became the place where other people who were in the neighborhood could contribute their talents to the girls and teach them about the world around them, teach them about who they are. I then have since found a foundation, and Super Camp has really been the place that's been a training ground for girls to be able to affirm who they are, really lean into their passions, and also learn about the world around them using the people who are essentially around us. And so that became the place where girls, once they got to the middle school level, we started to ask them about what projects they really wanted to do that was of importance to them. So Super Camp lives under the Grassroots Community Foundation, where that I found, but it really started as a neighborhood social effort to really just kind of work with families and figure out how we can help our girls.
And the reason why I wanted to bring up Super Camp is because I think that's really where the idea of becoming a social problem solver has stemmed from me. And I think it's really important that I emphasize that I've had, experiences of being surrounded by other girls and seeing people online and both in person that are doing great things. But before I, fully get into the beginning, I want to introduce Autumn and Milo, who joined, and I wanted you guys to talk about your age, where you're from, and what you're passionate about. Everybody went around and introduced themselves. So if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, it would be so nice before we start.
Hello, we're so happy to be here, right, love? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, so I'm Autumn. This is Milo. I'll let her introduce herself, and she has some fun little nuggets to share about her day today too.
I'm Milo. I'm 9. My class is talking about you.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! That is so cool. That is the sweetest thing ever.
Yeah, so that was today. So it was just it was just meant to be that we were looped into this because they're working on a couple of projects. And then even while we were still trying to log in, we see the book in the background. And she was like, yes, I read that in Miss Pollock's class. And so, so yeah, so she's so excited. What are you passionate about, baby girl?
I'm passionate about making people happy.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great thing to be
It's
passionate
important.
about. Thank you guys so much for being with us. We were just talking about kind of like the origins of 1000 Black Girl Books and a program my mom started called Super Camp, which is really one of the first places I was introduced to social problem solving. Although obviously, like, she's my mom, so I would have found out about it one way or another, but it's obviously still something that is interesting and important. One thing I'm going to put into the chat right now is our definition that we came up with for social problem solver. I think if there's one thing that you guys are able to take away and kind of think about and hold on to is this definition. And the reason why we didn't use the word activist is because we don't want you guys to think that this idea is so hard to reach, that it's impossible to help other people, that it's impossible to care about things and be happy. And I wanted to know if anyone would want to raise their hand to volunteer and read the definition. So if you have your hand raised already, I could pick on you. But if anybody else wants to read the definition, I would love to hear them read it. I'm going to choose Rosa to read it because she has her hand up, and I would love to hear you introduce yourself because you didn't introduce yourself, and then to read it.
Hi, I'm Rosa. I'm from Maryland. I'm 14, and I am passionate about helping people who can't help themselves.
That is awesome. You are so cool, and thank you for joining us. Do you want to read the definition that I put into the chat?
Sure. Okay, so someone who uses both their passions and frustrations and the person and social issues they
personal. It was personal. There's a
personal and social issues they care about to fill gaps and solve injustices in their community.
Perfect. That is a long way to put it, I think, but it's really just to emphasize that you can use both your own experiences and the things you've learned from others to help people, to solve problems, and to care about others. So it's actually something that you probably do in your everyday life, and we don't want you guys to think that it's hard to reach or an impossible goal. So kind of through this development of Super Camp and social problem solving, whether we had a word for it or not, it led to my idea for 1000 Black Girl Books kind of getting some local attention. So some stuff in Philadelphia, where I was originally born, and then grew into national attention. And that's probably when some of you guys found out about 1000 Black Girl Books is, you know, seeing me with my green glasses on the news and this and that and the third. But now it's been almost 5 or so years since the development of the idea. It's actually 5 years in November, which I think is crazy for them to think about, especially since I first went down and told my mom that I was sick of reading about white boys and their dogs. And that has kind of now grown into something that's a quote for other people and a motivation for 1000 Black Girl Books, and actually the development of my own book, Marley Dias Gets It Done and So Can You, which we have a copy right over there if you want to show them, because I don't think you guys all know, but it is published with Scholastic. So if you have Scholastic book fairs at your school, you would hopefully be able to find it there. And I hope that you all would love it. I'm pretty sure Finn has Scholastic book fairs at his school, I can tell. And I hope that you guys would get to pick it up one day or another. So what I'm going to tell you all today is essentially what you can find here. And then kind of the next thing we want to talk about is actually what happened? How did this idea come about? How do we come up with ideas that help people? And is this just a thing that you have to, you know, think about for years and years? Or is it something that happens in the spur of the moment? And my answer to that question is that it's kind of a bit of both. I think one thing that's important and a note that you all should take is to be socially observant. And I know that's a hard thing and it's kind of a complicated idea, but it's actually really simple in your everyday life. Have you ever noticed that you don't like your school lunch, or that your playground is full of people on one side and not the other? Have you ever noticed that there is no sidewalks on a specific part of the road, that the playground is littered, that there's a dried up lake by your house? Things like that, and taking note of in your head, are super important. I have a couple examples. We don't have sidewalks that are continuous by my house, and I used to hate my school lunch in elementary school. I never ate it, ever. I ate bagels every single day. I thought it was the grossest thing ever. And kind of taking note of things in your everyday life that you think could be fixed. And obviously it's not telling your mom, oh, I don't like the outfit I'm wearing today, or the thing you bought me for Christmas I don't like, but it's focusing on things that are kind of, you know, that you might feel like are beyond your control, but affect your everyday schedule and your life. And thinking about what happens when I go to school? Why do I have bad internet connection in my Zoom calls? Things like that can all be taken note of, are important in finding the frustrations that you might want to turn into solutions for a campaign or a project of sorts. So just thinking about it in everyday life and especially with parents, trying to encourage kids when they complain about something to maybe think more about that, how it affects their life, their productivity, the things they like to do, their friends, and all these things really compile together to come up with big ideas. So can anyone name or wants to name something that they think is a little small glitch in their daily life or in their community that they think could be fixed? So I gave you a few examples. I hated my school lunch and I don't have consistent sidewalks. But what do you guys think is something that you might see in your everyday life that could be fixed or could be better? Mom, do you want to give an example?
I think in terms of snow removal, as soon as we leave this neighborhood and go within 5 miles, some neighborhoods almost never have snow removal. Snow is completely piled up and people aren't able to get out of their streets.
Great example, Mom.
That's a good example.
Dad, do you want to come up with an example?
I think something locally that's confusing, and I know a couple of the other people on the call had mentioned they were passionate about like getting people to come out and vote. I know one thing, like in our neighborhood, our polling place is close, but when you get there, it's confusing. So it's not you. It's like you have to get in one line if you're in this district, you're one line if you're in this one, and you have to match your name up in the book. So some of these systems are just really so antiquated that I think a modernization of the system would just make it easier for everybody and more efficient, and also encourage people to come out and vote, because some people don't like to come out and vote because they don't want to stand in line for an hour and just be bothered with it. So I think changing some of the way we handle elections locally is important.
That was a good example too. That was a little bit too complicated. I said everyday life.
Sorry.
But I think Rosa will have a better example than that. Rosa, do you want to give us an example?
Sure. I think definitely like with school, getting supplies out to students, because a lot of the times, like when, especially now, like teachers will have to pay for things out of their own pockets and then distribute them to their kids. And if they don't have enough, then some kids will be left without things. So definitely making sure that all kids have the same opportunity as the next kid.
That is a perfect example of that. And I think that's a good thing to talk about because it affects you, but it also affects other kids. And you're not going to be alone in discussing it, feeling that feeling, or wanting to change that thing. I also saw that Nicole and Kellen had something. Do you guys want to share your example?
In our community, the roads are small and like there's a lot of cracks and like bumps in them. And I think they should like do like a refresh of everything so it's like new again.
That's a good example too. We have that exact same problem. So you see that there are everyday things that you might just want to think about a little bit harder that can be solved, that can be fixed, and can help a ton of people. Because think about all the people that drive on those roads every day or every month or every year. Think about all the students that go to your school or schools in your district and how they get supplies. Think about how many grades they're going to get that are based on the materials they have and the things they need. So taking a second to just pay a little bit closer attention can really make a difference in coming up with an idea and working to solve a problem. A lot of you guys said really huge ideas like helping endangered animals, which is a super good idea. Helping to make sure that people who don't have a voice can have voices and speak out in their community. And these things are super huge and they're super important. So what we want you guys to do is to really make sure that you are feeling and figuring out what might seem like small thing, but a personal thing that affects your life. So rather than talking about, I want to help every last endangered animal, maybe saying, I want to give money to my local zoo, and figuring out what applies to me and what relates to kind of my own experience. The second thing we want to talk about is getting into the habit of writing down ideas and thoughts. So you guys can see that I have all these journals up here, and I have ones ever since I was about 5 years old or 6 years old. And these things have been super helpful for me. I have every little schedule, idea, and drawing I've ever written up there, basically. And it's super important to keep note of your ideas, even if they're bad or sloppy or lazy or not the way you want them to. I encourage every kid to get a journal. You will not regret it when you read it back and you think, oh, I was such a crazy little 5-year-old. I was a crazy little 11-year-old. And seeing the ways that you've grown, it is super, super fun. And Dad, I know that there was one point you wanted to touch on about, you know, emotions and feelings.
Yeah, so that's something that was kind of tough for me, particularly like coming up with the words to express yourself, because I am so not the public speaker. I would rather be sitting in the back. Like, this is big for me right now. But so I was always like the person who was sitting in the background, and you know, I was always observant, but not necessarily like up front. But the one thing that I found out with this, really, the one thing we try to instill in Marley, was that there's no value in being shy, right? You don't really gain anything from being shy. You actually miss out a lot of things. So because I was more of like the shy person, it was tough for me. I couldn't really, you know, tell her that she had to be a certain way if I wasn't doing it. So as a parent, you know, I had to step outside of my comfort zone a little bit, and be a little more vocal, so I can kind of express those things the ways that I was feeling. Because if I couldn't do that myself as a parent, it would really be tough for me to instill that in Marley if she didn't see an example of me, you know, leading the way.
And the thing is, like Dad said, there is no use in being shy, but I am a very shy person, which I think would surprise a lot of you. When I was a kid at Super Camp, we used to have to perform poetry, and I could memorize 1,000,000 poems. Like, I would memorize maybe 10, but then when it got time to perform them, I would stand there and I would cry. I would cry so profusely and just snot, and it was just
crocodile tears.
It was just gross and like embarrassing. And I used to do that. I could do the entire I Have a Dream speech by Martin Luther King, and I memorized the whole thing, but I could not say it without a tear coming to my eye, or my voice cracking, or me just wanting to like shiver and my knees are completely weak. So although there might not be any use in being shy, sometimes we have to take steps to be brave. And I don't want to say to any shy kids that are listening and that are here that it's a bad thing, but it is something that we have to sometimes work through. And I don't think I would be able to have this call with you guys right now and to talk to you about me crying as a 5-year-old if I wasn't able to realize that that's a part of what makes me strong. It's a part of who I am. And I think if I'd given up in those moments and just, you know, succumb to the tears and let myself always be a mess when it came time to talk about my ideas and my feelings, we wouldn't be able to be in the position we are right now. So I think for every shy kid, it is a hard thing. Trust me, I definitely know, and I relate, even though people don't believe me, to being shy and to being nervous. But it's something that you guys have to understand as a gift, and the ability to really feel and sense the environment around you and try to use that to help other kids rather than be afraid or think that that limits you. The next thing we really wanted to focus on was talking about the difference between fact and opinion. Now, this is something that is tricky for a lot of people because I think that we sometimes guide ourselves with our feelings, how we feel, what we think, what we believe, what we hope. But it's also important to focus on what we know and to have a good balance of those two things. So, Mom, did you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So this is, to me, I am not shy.
Opposite.
And but I do get nervous, and I think from very, very early on, Scott holds a degree in Earth and Atmospheric Science, and what I enjoy about science is that it helps to frame the way that we think about things. It provides us a stepwise way of thinking about ourselves and thinking about the world, and it also really grounds us in the importance of facts. And even in the moments where Marley was crying and on stage and all the rest of those things, there was the perception of what she thinks people are going to say, and then that is what people are actually saying. And really being able to distinguish those things, even around emotions, were important, but also being able to do that with other things. So what do we understand about how our bodies work? Why do you need sleep? This is not an opinion that you need sleep. There is science to the reason why you need sleep. Why do you need to drink water? Why do you need to eat these vegetables? From very, very early on, sometimes I've seen people like challenge with their children around things that were really valuable and important to me. And I really wanted her to understand that there are guiding knowledge that exists outside of ourselves that we can really use to make our world and our lives really good. So even the debates around broccoli, which didn't last very long, the debates around sleep time, which I know some parents still have, water consumption, book reading, glasses, etc. It was trying to get her to see that there's all of this body of knowledge out there, and she could look them up herself. That it wasn't just everything that we were doing weren't just singularly a bunch of opinions. And that became really handy as she looked at her campaign, which is just like, yes, you have this frustration that's happening with you, but who else has this frustration? What do we know? What is the information that exists beyond you? So that was very, very important. The other thing is that she has a lot of passions. She loves to read, but she has a whole host of passions. And those things are also very, very important. And she can, at this moment, lean into this passion, but she can also, at another moment, lead into something else. That she not see herself as any one thing, but seeing herself as many things.
And that is a really important point. Philly is eating his dinner right now. He decided he wants to eat it 4 hours after we gave it to him. But the reason why fact and opinion is important, and I'll give you another real life example. So when I used to get bronchitis as a kid, maybe like every like 18 months or so, and it was so bad. I used to have this nasty cough, and it was horrible, and I felt sick. And my mom used to make me drink orange juice, which at the time as a kid, I hated pulp. That was my biggest thing as a kid. I thought it was the most gross thing in the world. I couldn't even swallow it. So she would do this thing where she would make me drink it. But one day she told me, oh, it has vitamin C. It'll stop you from being sick. I said, Mom, look up what fruit has the most vitamin C. And it turns out it's strawberries. So learning and using fact, even though she presented me with the fact, challenging it, and then figuring out that I could eat strawberries instead of drinking gross, natural orange juice that I hated, was one way that I could solve a problem that I saw in my everyday life. So we want to give you these examples because it's good to start practicing in your house that maybe there are facts that you've been told in school and things like that, and investigating them, learning more about them, and obviously trusting your teachers because they're not going to try to lead you the wrong way, but extending a little bit more and taking things that you really care about or thought were cool that your parents have told you that are in school, and using your tablets, your phones, your computers as ways to learn more about those things is just a really helpful tip to understand more about the world around you. We kind of move into implementation. So we talked about the idea for 1,000 Black Girl Books, and I came up with that from writing down my thoughts, being socially observant, understanding the difference between kind of facts and opinions, and using my own opinions to learn more about facts around me, and understanding facts and forming my own opinions. These two things really work together. But when it came to the moment of not seeing myself in books and wanting to do something about it, with 1,000 Black Girl Books, it was really about the kind of who, what, where, when, why, and how. And this is another key kind of thing besides the definition of social problem solver that I want to put into the chat for you guys. I encourage you, for anything that I put into the kind of Zoom link, to put into your own personal notes or to take a picture of, because these are, in my opinion, in our opinion, the most key things that you guys might want to think about after this meeting, and if you have conversations at the dinner table. So
I just want to add that Walter's question about what parents can do is the answer is now coming up, Walter.
Yeah, so the answer when it comes to kind of like being willing to change and thinking about change it comes from these kind of questions. So the questions are: who does this issue affect? What is the main problem as you see it? Where do you want the project to take place? Where does this problem occur? When is this issue experienced? Why does this issue matter? And how do you aim to solve it? So what I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to answer those questions, and I want to pick somebody to be my interviewer to ask me these questions. So who would like to be the reporter reporting back on why these things are important?
I think Zora wants.
Okay, Zora doesn't want to do it. Okay, Zora can. Anyone can raise their hand and do it. I would love to have you guys be reporters for me. I do a lot of boring interviews. You guys do not even know. Anybody want to be a kid reporter? Any parent want to be a reporter? Okay, Autumn or Milo, you guys want to go? Okay, Milo, I'm ready for my interview.
Who, what, where, when, why? Wait, what does this issue affect?
This issue affects Black girls in schools. They do not see themselves, and they love reading, but sometimes they don't get to see people that look like them.
What is the main problem as you see it?
The main problem is that teachers are not paying attention to the meaning behind the books that they assign, and parents don't know how to help their kids get access to books that show new experiences of different people and experiences of people that look like them.
Where do you want the project to take place?
Where
does the problem occur?
The problem occurs in schools and in public libraries that are not paying attention to the curriculums they write, the books they assign, and what they really show and give students as resources. And the project would take place in both my own personal home with collecting the books, and it would take place in schools all across the world that need more books.
When is this issue experienced?
This issue is experienced from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. So many kids that go to school do not know that they don't have the books they need, don't see stories that they care about, and that they are encouraged to learn about other people's experiences. And it happens from when you are 5 years old all the way up to when you're 18 years old.
Why does this issue matter?
This issue matters because so many kids that are Black girls want to see themselves and learn more about their experiences. But for people who are not Black girls, they don't get to see who we are. They don't get to learn about our experiences and our history. And if we have both, we can help so many people be more respectful, be more kind, and just be educated on the experiences of others.
How do you aim to solve it?
I aim to solve it by collecting and donating 1,000 books where Black girls are the main characters, and starting off with a school in Jamaica, but hopefully getting as many as I can and going all over the world. Thank you for your interview, Milo. That was one of the best I've had so far. You did a great job. So these are questions that we really think are important to focus on and to care a little bit more about when you get the chance. And even with these little ideas that you mentioned, like the roads and like the school materials, thinking about these things in a new context is super important. I heard that we have a new family joining. I would love to hear you guys introduce yourselves, and it seems like we have a familiar face in our Zoom call.
Hi. So I'm Ella Rose. This is AJ, and then this is Ginger.
Hi. Good to see you guys. How old are you, and what are you guys passionate about?
So I just turned 10, and I turned 12. Oh, and I'm Paul. And she's 12. And I'm passionate about global warming, like I don't really know what I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about a lot of things, I guess.
That's great. We need people that are passionate about a lot of things.
Oh, I'm passionate about education.
Those are some great issues. Thank you guys for joining. We appreciate it. I know you guys are a little bit busy right now. Hopefully you can.
Also, if the video's a little bumpy, it's because we're in a car, so.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Thank you guys so much.
You're welcome.
Okay. So the next thing we were talking about is after kind of figuring out our who, what, where, when, why, and how, which is a long process and you don't get right on the first try. I definitely had some jumbled up ideas about what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, and why it mattered, but kind of taking the time to practice and think about these things. And I repeated myself a lot in my head, trying to figure out how this could make sense to other people and how other people could care about it. But the next thing is kind of learning about systems and patterns. So you might hear about this in math class where you would see that it's 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, and so on and so forth, and thinking about those kinds of patterns. But patterns exist in our everyday lives. I think it's something that a lot of times we don't pay attention to, but our daily routines are a pattern. The same street or walk we take to get to school is a pattern. And noticing the things around us that exist consistently and how we can make those things better is really important. Just like Kellen was saying with the roads and making sure that they're not bumpy, that is a part of a pattern of everyday life for students. If they don't have buses that can take them to school on time, they're late for their first class, then they're sleepy, then they're tired. And it's really important that we make sure that great ideas like that are pursued and are focused on and people are interested in. So I think that's something that you guys have to think about is how do these things exist over and over and over again? And how many people do they affect? And how many hearts do they really touch? So that's something I thought about, is that although me not having books in my own library can be solved with me just begging my parents to take me to Barnes and Noble, is something that could help so many other kids, because I'm not the only person that happened to be in 5th grade at the time. And I'm not the only person that really cared about social activism and change. I just think I had more words than other kids to really put that into action and to put these ideas into place. So now the next thing after we had this idea is gathering resources. And this is where my mom comes into play, because I cannot tell you how this is all accomplished besides my own idea, but she really has been the support system. And I think for the parents, it's important for you guys to hear, like, how does this play out? How does this happen? When your kid has an idea, what do you actually do?
So I mean, I think that is often, especially as caregivers, right? So a child comes to you with one idea on Monday, another idea on Wednesday, another on Thursday. And the first thing I think, in terms of especially Walter's question, is that we have to be open to the idea that children can in fact change the world. That is a super important kind of faith that all of us have to have, is that they have a unique lens in seeing the world that we do not have by virtue of their age and their experience, and really investing and listening to them in that process. And if you're not used to that, there are a couple of things that you can do to help yourself get used to that. And the first thing is take something that both of you do together and ask your children or your child if they see the same things that you do. This will instantly tell you that the things that you're looking at and the things that they're looking at, you're seeing often very different things. You have a few touch points, and you can do it in a Venn diagram, right? Like, when we go to the mall, what do you see? What are the things that get your attention? And what are the things that get my attention? And then look at what loops over both of those things. If you find that it is difficult to listen to children, then you're going to have a hard time. But listening to them will give you so much more information about what they are thinking and how they're constructing. In the case of Marley, when she said to me, I am sick of reading about white boys and dogs, I was like, okay, what are you going to do about it? Because I can read any book I want to. This is not a Janice problem. This is a Marley problem. And I have really encouraged her that if she sees a problem, then once you've seen it, the responsibility is yours. And that responsibility is what I continue to suggest to caregivers that they do so. Once you've decided to invest in your child or your children, what you want to do is garner support. Support always comes in terms of friends and family, but also putting on to Marley that she needed to get support from her peer groups, because adults know a lot of things, but kids also know a lot of things. So she had to ask people to donate books. I'm willing to ask people to donate books. I'm willing to put it on my social media. She was not on social media. I'm willing to say to my friends, look what my kid said to me. And she wants to really advance this idea. Can you help us out? And she had to do the same in terms of when she went to school, when she was on play dates, etc. And this idea that we're working in complement, I think has really been the greatest part of the work. So even tonight, like, this is Marley's design, the way she wanted to do it. And really, it helps because as caregivers, we're busy with work, we're busy with bills, we're busy with all these other responsibility. And if your child is just aspirational and not willing to put pen to paper, not willing to garner support or resources, it can frustrate you. And then you're not in the business of really being a cheerleader and a supporter. So Marley's ideas came to practice because I was willing to do some work, and I asked her to do some work as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a push and pull of, working together. And everything that we are saying today and all these notes have been prepared by me. And I was the person that I was ideated to actually start a meeting. They were willing to come out here blind and just
I was going to freestyle the whole thing. Yeah.
No way. I believe in planning. And I think it's also important that they have kind of given me a voice in that I'm like allowed to come up with ideas. I didn't ask them if it was okay for me to write something out, and kind of having that space where if I wanted something to go this way and my name is on the top of the paper for the event, that, I should have some creative direction in how these things go. And there are a lot of examples of that in kids, daily schedules, picking out the clothes that they wear, doing things that they enjoy, and focusing on those things and having control. For teenagers, I think that's a little bit different in real life and action because your parents sometimes give you that, but pushing the boundaries a little bit and talking more about how you feel is one way to also see that your parents and you can get on the same page. The last point before we kind of go into open discussion, because we know we have only about 13 minutes left or so, is my dad talking about safety, because he is the safety officer of the family. He's probably the most hesitant, and he's still open-minded, but he's still a little bit reluctant to do something. So Dad, what were you going to say for a little bit of advice for the caregivers?
So I was and still am, the family safety officer. What Marley means by that was when Marley was really young, I was the one who was putting the little plastic things on every light socket and the corner protectors on everything, and wanted to put the rail across the stairs and everything like that. But I would take it too far. So sorry.
Continue.
So I would take it too far, and to the point of which I was like stifling her growth because I was afraid of her, bumping her head. So sometimes it was tough for me to let her take those first steps in the trial and error. So it's one thing that I still am always like cautious about things, but I always make sure that I do give her a little bit more freedom and let her have her trials and errors. You always protect them from the really big things, but you always want to give them that little leeway where they can get out there and explore a little bit on their own.
And what else do you think is important to know about kind of frustrations and talking about frustrations?
So I think that I think the good thing is with talking about it is you just have to talk about it, because if you don't talk about those things, then they kind of build up within each other. So she might be mad at me about something for some reason, and I could probably never think about it. I'm not even thinking about that. So we always make it so that Marley can express herself to us and tell us how she's feeling, and we have to do the same thing to her, but not like always talking to her like you have to do this all the time, but being able to really have like an open line of communication with her was always helpful.
And I think that this is connected to the idea of
I had one point and she just jumped over me. It's my turn. But so last thing we're gonna say, Mom can say something too, but the last thing I will say before we go into the breakout session is when we talk about these ideas and we talk about problems, we do not place the blame on a specific person or group of people.
Yes.
That is one thing that's important with safety that he was supposed to say.
Yeah, right. I forgot
but
about
he
that part.
did not say it.
Yes.
That I'm covering for him and saying this.
Thank you.
Here's a good example. I know it's too late now. You missed your shot. I'm explaining it. So Rosa's example that she gave about the school's materials and pickup. We could directly say that it is this Maryland school district's problem and it's their fault as to why teachers have to pay out of their pockets. It may be, it may not be. But where do we find success or joy in placing the blame and telling someone else that they are wrong and that they've done the most hateful and worst thing to this community? So there are a couple people I could blame for the lack of diversity. I could blame publishers. I could blame teachers. I could blame my own personal 5th grade teacher that didn't have books. But what do I gain from that? I lose a teacher. I don't get help from the publishing industry. And I don't get help from a lot of educators because they might see that I'm an enemy of what they do. But I think when we talk about solutions and things we want to change, it's working with the people that sometimes cause the problems. People that have helped in support of voter suppression, people that have encouraged people to not care about endangered species. Trying to give them an opportunity to show people that they care is something that's helped. I know that a lot of the books that I was assigned are under specific publishing companies that do not have enough Black girl books, and yet they still send me books and they support my campaign because they know that I'm trying to change things and not place the blame on them. My campaign has never been anti these publishing houses because they only have 3% of books published. But it's about making sure that we can fix that number. It doesn't really matter where the number came from. It matters that we know this number, we understand this number, but then we want to get rid of it. We want to make sure that it changes. And our work is not to try to attack or, as a lot of teenagers might know, to cancel people for what they've done in the past, but rather to promote that they change these habits. And not to necessarily shut them out of being able to be a part of the change, welcoming them to show people, okay, you care about red pandas now. You care about chinchillas. You care about tortoises. You can help us save them. You can help us build reservations. And giving other people an opportunity to be great, to be kind, to be supports is something that you have to pay attention to, rather than saying we are anti this, we hate this, we don't support them, and just being ourselves and not focused on kind of who to place negativity on, rather to put positivity on ourselves and what we believe in. So, Mom, did you have any?
Yeah, I think that takes
That
care of it.
was
We
great,
were all
Mom.
trying to cover for.
I was just about to say that, Elba. I didn't get there yet.
So this, I think, is so there is this vision. So as to the work, it's the vision of what you want to have happen, is that you always keep your eye on saying, if you see a challenge, start to begin to be in a solution mode. What will the solution to this problem look like? And that will be the driver. The solution will help you think about allies, think about resources, and think about how to move forward.
Thank you, Mom.
Right.
Okay, so we're in our last 5 minutes, which I think for us, at least, it has gone by fast because we've done most of the talking. But what we want to do is, we wanted to do brainstorming time. We really did, but we have 5 minutes. So I want to open it up to questions for all of us, because I think that's the best way to use the time. If you guys have anything you specifically want to know, just raise your hand. I will make sure to unmute you, and then feel free to ask anything you want.
So I have more of a statement. So I wanted to say that my mom, she works with a bunch of community fridges, and she's kind of roped us into it. So Ginger, AJ, and I, we've been making a community bookshelf outside of our house, so we can share
A
books,
library.
with other people who aren't as fortunate. And we wanted your input on it.
So I think that is a good idea. That is an awesome idea. I think here are 2 easy things you can do to help that idea kind of flourish and succeed. First, come up with a name. You have to have an idea besides community bookshelves in Brooklyn or wherever your area is. You want to make sure that there's something that is kind of coinable, because 1,000 Black girl books can be Marley Dias donates books to Black girls, but rather it's Marley Dias founds 1,000 Black girl books. And then people ask, what's 1,000 Black girl books? Why do you do this? And by having a name, I think it draws a lot of interest, because people are like, well, what's that? What is this about? And I think one thing you can also do is to take a lot of pictures, to write down all your ideas, and to kind of force or convince your mom to post them on her pages so that other kids can hopefully be inspired or encouraged by that great idea. So that was a good one. Thank you for that. I appreciate getting asked for advice. I don't get asked for advice that much.
Thanks for your feedback.
Say that again?
Thanks for your feedback.
No problem. I appreciate it. Okay, does anyone have any questions? Okay, Finn, you want to ask a question?
It's like a comment. Like, you're really inspirational because you started when you were 10 and I'm 11. So like, that's cool that you started like so young.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And you do not run out of time because you are 11 and haven't felt like you've come up with your billionaire idea. Don't stress about that. Okay. It takes a lot of time for some people. It takes 2 days for other people. And for me, it took my whole life up until that point. It took 10 years to come up with that idea. I had so many others, but that was the one I really felt like I could act on. And I appreciate the compliment. You guys don't even know, they're going to have their tissue boxes talking about, Finn said you were so inspirational. The kids were so nice and all that as soon as we are done. So anyone else want to ask any more questions? I think we're down to our last 2 or so minutes.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know it took you so long to get to the point that you're at right now. So I know that you must have felt discouraged at some point. So what did you do to pick yourself out of that hole, or pick yourself up out of that hole?
So I definitely felt really discouraged at some points. We were about 2 weeks away from my goal, which was I started in about November 15th or so of 2000. What was it? 15 now?
15.
And then I wanted to finish and have 1,000 books by about February 2nd, 2016. So I was I was at maybe January 20th or so, and I had 800 books left to collect. 800. I had taken all that time and I'd only gotten 200 books. And it was the most amount of books I felt like I had seen in one pile before that had girls like me. And I felt like it was great, but it wasn't enough. And I feel like I'm personally a perfectionist. So I felt really defeated. I felt like I came up with a bad idea that nobody cared about and that nobody wanted to help me with. And I think that was a super lonely moment. But as an expression to caregivers, that they told me that they didn't tell me then, they told me to keep going and to keep pushing, which has now encouraged me to, keep doing that. But I think if it was my own independent work and I didn't have help from adults, I would have quit right then and there. And I would have said, that's enough, because I didn't want to tell all my family friends that I was coming up with something great, tell my teachers that I was doing something cool just for it to not reach its goal. But we can't always think like that. And I don't want kids to come up with their ideas based on if they think it'll be successful or not, but based on the fact that they care about it. That's what matters the most in coming up with the ideas, this passion and this fuel and this drive. That's Philly stealing my math homework from the desk. But I think it's really important that we have adults that are checking up on us. And my parents really didn't even care about the number. They wanted me to really focus on and commit to something.
Just commit and like finish it through and going through the process, that she was going to learn a lot from that, even if she necessarily didn't hit that target goal that she had initially. Because
I'm sure that even if I hadn't and I had stopped that work and I'd finished on February and I acted like it never really even happened, experience. And I think whether or not it was in this form or another form, 1000 Black Girl Books would exist, because I had that practice, whether I had succeeded or not, to know that my ideas can do something. I can collect books. I know how to use social media, and that is a tool, even if I don't reach my goal or not. But that was a good question. I like getting questions about the tough moments, because I think it's hard to talk about.
One person different
titles.
So
You guys are breaking up a little bit, but feel free to ask.
I'm gonna ask in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Milo, do you have a question?
How many books have you collected so far?
That is a good question, because I didn't say it. I was waiting for someone to ask me how many. I've gotten to about 12,000 books so far. So 12 times my original goal, but that's in 5 years, guys. So that's a long, long time past my due date. But that's been my goal. So I know Ella, Ginger, and Joy have something they want to say in the chat. So feel free to type that and I'll make sure to answer. But questions for parents. If parents have questions that they want to ask, this is also a chance for them. Okay. The question was, how can we help with your project? So there are a couple things that you can do. If your parents have social media, following me and making sure to stay open for updates is more than enough support, in my opinion. But there are a couple other things you can do. I have a show on Netflix called Bookmarks. That is a show with book. It's a show that I'm the host of. I'm sure Finn knows the show. He just pointed at me. So I am the host of a show called Bookmarks. There are 12 episodes of Black celebrities reading books about Black kids to kids like you all over the world. It is super exciting. I read a book in one of the episodes, and they're only about 7 minutes or so. They said they watch Bookmarks, but watching Bookmarks again will help us get more and more bookmarks out there. And I think another thing you can do is to collect books. If you have Black Girl books in your homes that you want to donate, it would mean a lot to me that you were able to send them. We have a website, I'll type in the chat, that has a bunch of information on how to support. It's on private. Has a bunch of information on how to support 1000 Black Girl Books, but also support Grassroots, the place that has helped me come up with this idea. And there are so many other girls that have done projects and worked on things. Okay, grassrootsfoundation.org. Okay, so that's the website. Another thing you might want to take home with you. You guys can hear Philly tearing. We hear Philly tearing something up. I know there's going to be some shoes that are just demolished, but I hope it's not shoes either. Okay, so we can take about 2 more questions, and then I want to do a group screenshot of you guys all posing, and we can wrap it up. So parents' questions, random facts. Oh my God, Dad, you want to check on Philly?
Yeah, I'll go check on it.
Dad's gonna. You guys are about to hear some tears. Okay, Milo, do you have any questions?
Comment, but do you have any information you would give our class for this project that we're doing about? It's not really, well, we're using you as an example for the project, so we have this it's like a video, and it's it's kind of like
An
essay. So we're writing about how people aren't being treated fairly because of their skin color, and we're just using you as an example. Do you have like any?
Okay, so I want to give you a special and interesting fact. Okay, so here's a fact that you might not be able to read in an article. It's in some, but I don't think people always pay attention to it. Because of the work that I've done with 1000 Black Girl Books, I was able to get my own elementary school library to change the book that I was originally frustrated about being assigned. So because of 1000 Black Girl Books and the experience I had in my elementary school, which is right down my street, they actually decided to change the books and they completely flipped the curriculum and found a way to include more diverse books. So that's something that is in some articles, but is a fun fact about how, although I felt I was being mistreated because of not because of my skin color, that my skin color was something that people didn't see as important, was something that I was able to do to change that I'm super proud of, because a lot of people don't pay attention. I changed something in my own home. That's like the most important thing we can do, is to help change our community. Okay, thank you, Kellen. I appreciate it. Okay, so we have anyone else have one last final question? I know we have some people that definitely want to talk and say something, and I would love to hear from you guys.
Is there something in the chat window?
No, there's nothing in the chat. All right, well, I think we have two final things to recommend to you guys, and then
This is for caregivers.
Okay.
And young people.
So for caregivers, this is the book that my mom would recommend. It's called An Indigenous People's History of the United States, for young people, but I would recommend caregivers read it. And then for kids, watch Philly. He's trying to bite the table. Chelsea Clinton's Start Now, You Can Make a Difference is another really good book that I think all of you, Claire, it might be a little bit difficult, but I think you could enjoy it if you really, really wanted to. Is a book that you can read. And then the final recommendation, which Claire would love and could enjoy, is Marley Dias Gets It Done, and so can you. But before we close out and our last final thing, I'm going to do a screenshot on my computer of all of you guys smiling. So look right into your little dot right there and make sure to smile. I want you guys to do your best poses. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay, we got it. One more. Silly faces. Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so I want you all to go off mute and say goodbye, and then we can all leave the meeting, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. We'll dance our way out here. Dance your way out here. Hey.